Good day, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this CADI webinar. The response has been overwhelming, and we'll attempt to address as many questions as we can. I'm Gerard Mostert, and again with me this afternoon is Victor Priya. The webinar will last approximately 20 to 30 minutes, during which we will answer the questions received regarding the previous webinar. During the session, you can ask questions via the chat window, and we'll do our best to accommodate as many of these as time allows. If you do miss something, we'll send you a YouTube link to watch, but for now, let's get going with our first question. First question here. Can you convert a drawing from CADI to ACAD? Victor.
Hi, good afternoon, Gerard, and good afternoon to all the attendees. If you look on CADI, if I go right to the top and we go to Configure and Drawing Defaults, here we can see we've got the extension for drawings as a default setting as DWG and for symbols as DWG. It used to be DRW in the previous versions, and now it is DWG. This is a default setting, and obviously also you can change your version number of the drawings that you want to save as a default. I'm showing this to you because you don't need to bother or worry about anything of this kind, because when I work in CADI, all I have to do is go and save as, and it will by default switch to DWG, which is an AutoCAD format. If I have to, however, send it to someone with an older version, I can always then select that. So the short version is you don't have to save it or convert it. It saves by default into DWG. Gerard, over to you.
Okay. Well, the second question is a question, is CADI 25 just a trial version? How do you acquire a license?
When you download the CADI as a trial version from the website, it will by default try and attempt to get you into a trial version. The trial version allows you for 14 days to be able to work and save your CADI drawings. After the 40 days, it will revert into a demo, what we call a demo mode, which means then you will be able to work with the system and you can even print with it, but you will not be able to save your work without a valid license. And this is where I normally come into play with regards to how to get to a license or how to purchase a license. If you purchase a perpetual license, obviously it will not expire. But it's not as simple as that anymore, because of all the different possibilities that the users requested and required. We've got different types of licenses. For instance, a perpetual license, which comes with a 5-year maintenance contract, that will not expire even though the maintenance period has expired. The other option, however, the license renewal option, that will give you an option that if you do terminate the maintenance or the maintenance period expires, then the license will expire. So in short, obviously, if you need some more information on that, CADI is quite versatile. I can even get my details on there. You can see my screen there.
Well done.
Okay, awesome. So you can always get into contact with me at any of those contact details there, and I would gladly assist you to do an assessment and see what your requirements are, because we've also got in the perpetual and the license renewal option, you've got an option, a choice of budget or professional. And it depends on what your requirements are. Pointless, you know, doing a capital outlay for a license and you can't even use it because it's not designed for what you want it to do. So there are different types and options that we can accommodate the users. The advantage obviously is for the local user base. CADI is sold in local currency, and we know we just experienced this with this national lockdown, or the worldwide lockdown rather, where the rand-dollar exchange rate did like really funny tricks, and it's a total disadvantage to the guys outside the borders, where the local guys can benefit from that. And obviously the local support. But again, even though we've got, I don't see them in there, they have registered, the guys from Kenya, Nigeria, and the UK guys. They are not in a disadvantage because they're not sitting within our local borders when it comes to the support. We can obviously, in a similar fashion like we're doing now with Zoom, we've got TeamViewer licensing in CADI, so we can do support and assistance from anywhere in the world. And some of the users, don't know if some of them are actually in the meeting with us, have experienced firsthand, even though no one of us at the CADI office was physically at the office, we still did some installations and support from remote areas. So So the bottom line question, Gerard, is no, it doesn't only come in a trial version. You can obtain a normal license and that does not expire. I hope that answers your question, and over to you.
Right. Right. Then at the webinar, we saw some very nice dimensions demonstrated, and there was a question regarding the dimension settings. You can just explain to us.
Okay. I demonstrated, if you refer back to the webinar, I referred back onto the AEC dimensions. Now, AEC dimensions is what I used in that, in that webinar. There are basically two different types of dimensions, one being the AEC dimensions, as I just said, and then the non-AEC dimensions. So to explain the difference between the two, I'm going to handle the non-AEC dimensions, and within the non-AEC dimensions, you've got an option to have two types of dimensions within them. In the older days, Gerard, if you can remember, up to about CAD 9, I think 10 also had them, and I think in the later versions recently, we implemented dimensions by style, or style dimensions. And this is a fundamental change, and obviously there are some advantages to this. First of all, the disadvantage of the individual, the old type of dimensions, it makes your drawing very slow. Users have complained and log calls for that. When they substitute it with a new type of dimensions, it is exponentially faster because of the new technology available. And I'm going to demonstrate, if you allow me. So if I zoom into these dimensions, if I click on them, as you can see, it's a normal dimension. The difference is when I click on the dimension and you look at the object properties window, you'll see on the right-hand side, it says dimension style, and it's grayed out with the name of $dim_caddy. And the $dim is normally the first indication that this is an individual dimension and not a style dimension. So if I click on dimension set and I click on the dim dimension and go to modify, I'm going to modify this. So let's say I want to see this still in 1:100 scale. I want to change the pen. Maybe we should make it a green color rather. Maybe it's more legible that way. If I click OK, click close, and now I need to change this. So I would go now to manage dimensions and I would go and edit them individually. You with me there, Gerard?
Yes, yes, yes. You click a lot.
Oh, yeah, yes. Okay, you got it. So now we get a phone call. The client says, "Oh, but I've got so many to click." And okay, so if we quickly look at, sorry, if I have a look quickly on these dimensions, we are going to have 245 clicks in this area of this drawing alone. You can see there. If I click on dimension and let's select all the dimensions in this drawing, I've got 825. Can you see on the right hand side, Gerard?
I can see at the top right, 825.
I've got 825 clicks to do if I need to change these dimensions. So let's go and I only want to change these dimensions again. And if you want to know how I did the selection so quickly, I used the select, store and recall selection. I will give you a link for some tips and tricks on how to do that very quickly. So I'm going to undo a few times and I'm going to show you a much quicker way of getting to change that. And the answer to the question is a style dimension. So if I go to my template, for instance, here I've got my template, and this is a dimension I want to use with these type of parameters. And let's go, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to copy and paste it to my clipboard, go to my new drawing, right click, paste from clipboard, and I press escape. Now it's in my drawing, and if I go to parameter set, those are the dim dimensions I used earlier. If I click on that one, that is the new one that we've got. So I've done a shortcut here, Gerard. I actually, without setting it all up, because I'm going to show you how to set it all up, let's do it. So if I click on modify, I can now go and customize the dimension to the parameters or the specifications that I want it to be, i.e. the font. I can change the color of the text. I can change the color of the extension lines. You can set the length of the extension lines, and it goes on. You can do, let's click on fit, how it must display when you put, must it be beside the dimension line, must it be over the dimension line, etc. Primary units, you want to put decimal, you get the idea, there's plenty. I don't want to waste your time or bore you with it, because you can go through this dialog box. There's so much you can change on this. So So if I now go and change this, let's make it also 2 millimeters, and let's make it, I said, green here.
That's right.
Click on OK, click on close. Now, nothing has happened at this point in time because as I selected any of these dimensions, as I in the beginning showed you, it's the dimension style is an individual dimension. So what happens now, if I change this, you select all the dimensions again, and I change that to the style dimension.
Boom.
All done. 245. It's a few clicks, but I'm talking a lot here. So this is how simple it is. If I need to change that, and this is where the power comes in. If I now want to change this and modify that again, and let's change the color and give it what color? Let's go for
Okay.
light blue.
That one, yes.
Okay, so all I do, click OK. If you look at the background, I even close this dialog box. This is how quick it is. It's already done the changes for you.
Far better than 800 clicks, isn't it?
It is. And the thing is, within the individual dimension, it works very similar to the concept, and I'm probably going to step on someone's toes here, very similar to the concept of a viewport, where you've got a dimension with styles allocated, with parameters allocated to a style, and each dimension looks at that style, like a reference symbol or like a block. Whereas with individuals, the individual dimension, all those parameters sit within each dimension, and it's repeated. So in this drawing, 825 times the same thing repeated. You can see where the time saver comes in. Gerrit, so that's the dimensions. Over to you. Next question.
Very, very nice. Right, the next question was around floor plan square meters. How did you get those areas? Can you explain to us, please?
Let me get to the area. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try and explain this with regards to an existing drawing. So if I look at this, we've got a ground story and a first story. Let's look at the ground story for a moment. I showed you on the previous one, if I draw a polyline, and I'm just going to use rectangle for speed. If I click on the polyline, it shows you on the bottom right-hand side the dimension, the area. You could also go and say measure area, and I go close polyline, click on it, and it'll also give you the area at the bottom. And if I understand correctly, the question was, how do I get the areas on the drawings in different rooms and together? But I want to go one step further. I just don't want to show you how to do it by room, because you can obviously do this in the fenestration calculations. If I go to fenestration here, an option to define areas and calculate your fenestration, your X10400 fenestration calculations. But even before that, what if I can show you to get the calculations for the structure room by room, and also as I showed you, when you move those things around, the schedule adjusts for the volume in the cement and brick and so on. But the same thing happens with the area. So I'm going to delete that for the moment, and I'm going to concentrate back onto this drawing. So what I've done is normal polyline, and I start tracing each room. And now if I go and use my levels here for the moment, just to eliminate the rest of the drawing, you'll see if I zoom closer, you can see that, Gerrit?
Yep, I can still hear you. Went away for a while, that's fine.
So if I switch everything back on, it's basically all I've done is I've used the layer grouping in the levels by eliminating certain things. So I get the complexity of my drawing, I just simplified a bit. Looking at the guest bedroom and the guest bathroom, if I click on areas, all I've done is I've selected, sorry, let me click on it. I just defined that with the polyline. As you can see, it runs all around, and there's the area.
Very nice.
Obviously, this has been broken up and rounded off, but the concept is not the one I show. What I show is there's the covered patio, for instance, and it's just a polyline. So simple as that. Just draw a polyline around what you want. So let me do an example. I'm going to switch back to show everything. Let's go to this lounge area. I'm going to hit polyline. E for endpoint on my keyboard snap modes, and I'm going to start drawing. And you can see you see my mistake, Gerrit?
Yep, you snapped incorrectly. Can you change that?
Look at the bottom of the command line. There's an option that says U for undo last point. So while I'm there, let's switch the text off for the moment, maybe a bit better. If I press U, 1, 2, 3, U, and it just undoes it for me. And U again, I'm back one, and let's continue. I'm going to go to that point, to the, if I do snap again incorrectly, for instance there, U for undo, snap, snap, done. Let's switch the text back on for the moment. So I switch it on, and there is the polyline I've drawn. So you would go around, define that by polyline. You can create a schedule of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw scheduling, general schedule, and I'm going to select area. So I click on OK. In the command line, Caddy says indicate the objects to schedule, and I'll just draw a block around it. Done. So let's switch everything back on, and let's place the schedule here at the bottom. So when I now, let's just pull it a bit bigger, a little bit more. Can you see that, Gerard?
Yeah, I can see it. Very, very nice. Oh, there we go. Nice area schedule.
But there are a couple of these that are not, that's not labeled or hasn't got an area name. That line, it only means is that the update automatically option is not switched on. So I'm just going to say update automatically yes. That line will disappear. And there's no reason, just to show you that the data has changed and this schedule hasn't been updated. I just don't like that line, but you can leave it. It doesn't affect the working of the schedule as such. Unless you do a change, you must just manually go and update it. So I want to see 24.93. I don't know where that area is. So I go to right click schedule table and zoom to a specific object in the schedule table. And I'm going to zoom into this area here that says 24.93. I click on it and there it is. Can you see it's highlighted? It's purple. I don't know if it's that legible. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, you can. Okay, cool. So if I click on that, that is the area then defined for that value. Object property still looks the same, but I want to bring your attention to this tab here that says extended data. Can you see that?
Yes.
If I click on that, area name, I can say, okay, the area name is, and if you're really afraid, I mean, you can just type it in there, lounge, so like I've typed it in, or what you can do is you can go to edit text, click on the text, select Control-C, escape, click on the line and hit the Control-V. So if it's lounge is easy. If you've got like things like covered patio and you don't want to type in for mistakes, you can just copy and paste it. I just hit the enter key that accepts it. Let's go back and you'll see there's lounge.
There we go.
So does that make sense? Let's do another one, Gerard.
That makes sense, Vic. I think it's fairly clear. But nice, I must say, very easy to do.
So just to recap, all you do is you are going to define a polyline. You're going to draw a polyline. What I've done is I've set my active layer to areas, and then you just draw your polyline. So let's do the entrance. I'm going to go by a rectangle. There it is. And no, you don't want me to do this, but let's go and say schedule table. Let's switch back onto area. Oh, come on, you. It's just sitting on a layer that is not supposed to be where it is. There we go. So let's go back to areas. So what I'm doing now, Gerard, that new area there, I'm going to add it. So I click on the schedule table, add objects to a schedule table. Okay. And then I indicate on that object. It's added it. Did it add it?
Yep, sure, just to refresh it.
Let's do this. Well, if all in doubt, we just do it again. So it's so quick and simple. No, I did add it. Sorry, it was there.
Yep, it's there.
So yeah, so what we do is I click on the line, click on extended data, and I'm going to type in entrance. And if you look closer there, the line goes through, which means it is some changes taken place, and I need to update it. So you can either go select it, right click, schedule, and update the schedule table, or you can just set it to automatically update, and then you'll see entrances there. Very simple. Nice. So all we did is, just to recap, I drew a polyline, and I drew the schedule from the general schedule, and then you just go and label the polylines, give them the area names, and there's your schedule. Over to you, Gerard.
Vic, I think that's the main questions that came up. Is there any other questions? Can you guys type in if you want to? Want to see something more? You type into the chat window there.
Maybe if someone maybe wants to put up their hand, or we can unmute and give someone a chance to talk. Maybe that would be quicker, Gerard.
Kan ek eens vra?
That's it. I've got Beatrice trying to talk. Yes, Beatrice.
All right. You know, when you configured the the drawing to open. When you open a drawing, it only shows either the CAD file or the AutoCAD file. Is there a way of showing all the type of files, the drawing as well as the CAD drawing, the AutoCAD drawings as well as the CAD drawings at once when you open another drawing, when you open a folder?
I think what you're getting to is if I go file open, there's an option here that I can say list all the drawing files, DRW, DWG, and DXF. Beatrice, does that answer your question?
Okay, I actually want to know when you open, you have to, I know how to do that, but how can you set your default to open both types of drawings, all three types of drawings?
Okay, so what you're saying is when I go file open, it was actually default on that setting.
Yes.
As far as well, I'm not too sure. Well, let's try. So if I hit that, it's not going to do that. So let me just kill this drawing for the moment. Let's try the Beatrice. Let's see. I've actually never done it. So let's go all drawings and select that. So you happy? I've got that. Click open, and there we go. And if I open again, it defaults to that. Okay, no. I hear you. Okay, we make a note of it. Yeah, it's great. It's a great question. We'll make a note of it, add it onto the list, Beatrix. And who knows, maybe 2026, you might have it. Thank you so much. Great stuff. I'm going to mute you for now. Anyone else for a question, guys? I've unmuted everyone's mic, so if anyone got a question, please shout. Either everyone is scared or everyone can't hear.
Well, I can just ask, can we have one of these every day?
School training.
Because I'm laughing. I'm laughing because we just had a discussion prior to the session, and some of the guys felt that one a week is enough, and I said no, we must have more than a
one a day.
Yeah, but yeah, I hear you. Thank you for your for your input. We'll definitely make a note of it, and I'll pass it on to the person involved.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions, guys? I'm going to unmute you all. If there's anyone who wants to ask another question, we've got a couple of minutes still to go.
That's fine. Thanks. Thank you, Vic. It's been marvelous again, and let's keep it going as long as we can. Thanks a lot for all your trouble.
Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining it. I hope you've learned something and saw something. If you've seen something and if you've got a question and you didn't have a chance to post it here, please forward it to that email address. How's that? I mean, Carrie does even that for us. So please forward all your questions onto that email address. It will forward it to us and we can build something for you guys. Thank you again. Have a good day. Please stay safe. Please stay positive and please stay home. And we'll see you soon in a virtual boardroom. Happy drawing, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Dankie.
Bye, dankie.